Namaste and welcome to the Hindu Parenting Podcast. In today's episode, we focus on Indic knowledge systems. We all know names like Einstein, Pythagoras, and Newton, but not much about prolific Bharatiya thinkers like Panini, Sushruta, Bhaskaracharya, and many more. Right now, we are witnessing a surge of interest in IKS or Indic knowledge systems. Let's find out about Bharatiya sciences and how we can give our children a glimpse of its vast richness. We have Matrushree Ananthalakshmi ji on the podcast. Ananthalakshmi ji is one of the founding gurus of Anaadi Foundation. Anadi's ashram is a place dedicated to spiritual sadhana, tapasya, and intense learning. They have a residential gurukulam and a goshala. Among the many things they do, Anaadi Foundation has also made available a set of books on IKS specifically for children. Namaste and welcome, Ananthalakshmi ji.
Namaste, everyone. Very happy to be on this podcast.
It's a pleasure for us to have you here today. Before we get to IKS Books for children, what do we mean by IKS? Why is it important for us and our children to know about it?
So when we look at Indian knowledge systems, this seems to be a buzzword everywhere right now.
Yes.
So whether it is the NEP document, or whether it is some guideline from the UGC, or even when people are setting up their own new educational institutions, or even looking at business processes. So this word Indian knowledge systems is widely being used right now. And of course, there are various other terminologies being used in terms of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, Bharatiya Jnana Pranali, Indic knowledge systems. More or less, they all mean the same and have been used in different forums. And when we say Indian knowledge systems, we refer to the knowledge systems that originated in Bharat, the vast and rich cultural heritage of Bharat, and spread throughout the world. We have historical records of how these knowledge systems, spread throughout the world at different points in time, whether it is the health sciences of Ayurveda, or whether it is mathematics, or whether it is astronomy. Many of these knowledge systems spread throughout the world having originated in Bharat. And one of the ways of looking at Indian knowledge systems, there are different viewpoints, like how you can classify the Indian knowledge systems. Of course, the IKS division is there of the Ministry of Education, where you can look up the various knowledge systems. But one of the easy ways of understanding this is through the lens of the Chaturdasha Vidyasthana or Ashtadasha Vidyasthana. So you have the 4 Vedas, you have the 6 Vedangas, and you have the 4 Upavedas. So totally you have 14 of them. The 4 Vedas are, of course, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Veda. Then you have the 6 Vedangas, you have Shiksha, you have Nirukta, Chandas, Jyotisha, Kalpa, and Vyakarana. And you have the 4 Upavedas. You have Dhanurveda, Ayurveda, Arthashastra, or Gandharva Veda, and some say it is Sthapatya Veda. So you have the 4 Upavedas, which are basically the applied Vedas. And then you have the philosophical systems and the scientific thought processes coming from the Jaina and Bauddha systems as well. So we do recognize all of these as Indian knowledge systems, and these scholars, great scholars who have been working for many, many years on some of these knowledge systems, be it in universities or be it in their own, homes for that matter, or in their own patashalas and gurukulams. If you go to Uttarkashi, if you go to Varanasi, or if you come to Kanchipuram in the south, they are filled with, places where these knowledge systems can be accessed. So one can understand all these put together as Indian knowledge systems.
So this is all really interesting, and while we in the sphere may have heard of all this, I think most parents are still grappling with these terms and the vidyasthanas and all that. it's not very probably not very familiar for the average Hindu parent, who's not aware of all this traditional knowledge systems, or Indian knowledge systems, as it's called. Moving on, no, how old do you think kids need to be before they can probably read and understand such kind of material or such kind of paradigms, the Indic knowledge systems?
Very, very true that a large group of the parents, of course, the society itself and young people are not aware of the term, in fact, Indian knowledge systems or the Chaturdasha Vidyasthana that I just mentioned. And it often, many people are intimidated by the whole thing when they see that, what is my child going to study as part of the Indian knowledge systems? Or if they delve deeper into it, what job prospects they have in the future, and so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
How early can we start introducing? Is it too complex? Do I need to know Sanskritam to access all of this? So these questions are quite common, that runs in the mind of people who get newly exposed to IKS or Indian knowledge systems or traditional knowledge systems. We have been speaking as part of Anaadi Foundation's efforts, even in the preschool curriculum. So when a mother or a father or a grandmother or whoever is taking care of the child at home is introducing the child to the local context, that itself is IKS in a certain way. So one is IKS, when we say it's not a standalone knowledge system, which is something out there, which is something abstract over there, something that has to be read only from the books, right? So even when you look at the Shastras, there are three or multiple ways or multiple sources of knowledge. We use the complex term called epistemology for that, but nevertheless, to understand in a simple manner, you can learn through direct perception of something, which is called pratyaksha, pramana, and or you can learn it through inference, which is anumana, or you can learn it through comparison or analogies, which is upamana, or you can learn it through the testimonials of experts or through the shastras, through books, or through references, which is called Shabda Pramana or Agama. So when the child begins to grow up, starts growing up, a lot of the knowledge that is offered to the child is Pratyaksha Pramana. You show them an apple, you show them an orange, you show them. So most of the Indian knowledge systems exposure already has started from home when the child is introduced to the local context. So just an expansion of that. What happens in many times is that in the preschool curriculum, or when the parents are trying to teach the child at home and the child is about 1.5 years or 2 years or whatever, many of the books that are introduced to the children are from a Western context, be it the dressing or be it the fruits that are used or be it the context that is presented to the child. Most of it comes from the Western paradigm, where the child is not able to see it around them in reality. But when we introduce the child to the local context, even in terms of the dresses that the child wears, or the fruits that the child is exposed to, or the food systems that the child is exposed to, already the Indian knowledge system part has started there. That is where the emphasis on matrubhasha is quite useful. A lot of research talks about the impact of matrubhasha on the child's, neural development. For example, one of the research talks about how, alpha syllabic languages, alpha syllabic in the sense, for example, if you write a word in English versus you write a word in Sanskritam or matrubhasha, could be Telugu, could be Hindi, Tamil, whatever it is, right? And if you look at when you write it in English, you use a lot more letters to denote that, because you need to write the vowels separately. Whereas when you look at the Indian languages, the vowel is sort of integrated with the syllable itself, right? So that way, a lot of research has shown how alpha syllabic languages make a lot of difference to the neural development of people. And when it starts from a very young age, it can actually have a far-reaching effects in terms of how the cognitive development happens in a child. So that way, when the child is introduced to languages, multiple languages, many people think, if they introduce multiple languages, the child gets confused. No, not necessary. Over a period of time, gradually, the child can be introduced to multiple languages. Could be, one is, of course, English, one is the matrubhasha, could be Hindi or Sanskritam, which is like, a larger population could be speaking, or could learn the neighboring states, or suppose a Tamilian is located in Karnataka or a Kannadiga is located in Tamil Nadu, then they can learn the other language as well. So the learning of the matrubhasha itself is a beginning in the journey of Indian knowledge systems. Apart from that, in our preschool curriculum, which is called Sadvidya, which is suitable for ages 3 to 5, can be extended up to 8. A lot of Indic knowledge system concepts like Panchabhuta, Shadrasas of the Ayurveda, 6 tastes, which the child can then herself taste and then find out. All these concepts are included. So that way, it is not a very difficult thing in terms of something abstract that a child will not be able to see. It will all be in the experience of the child and becomes very easy to learn.
Yeah, it certainly sounds much more practical than the theory-based education that children are exposed to today in schools. So this should really go mainstream. I think it'll help children in terms of confidence level, certainly, and also familiarity with things at home and in the education system. Now those two are like poles apart. What they see at home, what they hear at home has nothing to do with what they are taught outside. I also saw people talking about fruits and flowers. They were teaching preschool children. And you often see things in English books like tulip, things that we don't see outside so frequently. We see jasmine, but that's not there. And so
Daffodil, I'm not sure if I have seen daffodil still now. Maybe I'm I'm not aware, but nevertheless, many of the flowers in the poems that we read in English, we haven't seen them in at least in.
Right. So you have a series of books for children. How old do they need to be before they can start reading these? Is it something that the parents need to read along with them and talk to them about it? I mean, what's the general level of these books?
Yes. So we have a couple of, we have a few series of books actually. So starting from age 3 onwards, as I told you, suitable for ages 3 to 8, we have an educator's manual for preschool education, which is called Sadvidya. So the Sadvidya curriculum is, of course, we introduced what is called the Panchakoshiya development in the Sadvidya curriculum. The main idea is that typically in a school environment, when the child goes to school, a large part of the content is to do with cognitive development. So in fact, if you draw a picture of a child going to school right now, probably you would draw a big head with a very small, tiny body, because so much emphasis is given on the cognitive development. You have subjects like, English, math, one after the other, and then the child is continuously bombarded with a lot of information. As I told you, as I've been telling people in different fora, I'm not someone who will, what you can say, poo-poo the current education system. Because it's working for a certain population, as I told you, they get jobs, their livelihood is dependent on that and all that. So no complaints about that. But I myself have gone through the regular education process, schooling, college education. I was a computer science graduate and all that. But then when I reflect on it and look at how my own children are learning and how, the capabilities of other children are also there, a large part of education is sort of averaged out. It's for the average learner. And whether if you don't fit into that average, either you could be like, somebody who's beyond the curriculum, or you are still catching up with the curriculum like a slow learner. The curriculum is not for both of them. They'll have to find their own means, right? So that way, when you introduce, so a lot more can be done in that space. That is where Indian knowledge systems can really help. So in our preschool curriculum, we are looking at the Panchakoshiya development or Panchakoshiya Vikas, where the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya, the five koshas of the child, can be developed in a holistic manner. Like, for example, the teacher will also look at how the child is able to have food, is able to jump, is able to run, what is the interpersonal relationship that it has with the other children of the preschool, how does it interact with plants, animals, is it able to, sing bhajans, whatever way, need not be perfect, but is it interested in singing bhajans? Is it interested in offering a small prayer to Bhagwan? So there are different things as part of the Panchakoshiya development, not just the cognitive development. So after ages 8 or so, we have a set of books, which is level 1, level 2, level 3 Indian knowledge system foundational books, where we cover topics like Ayurveda, yoga, ecology, astronomy, ganita, all that from the Indian context. So the books are written in such a way that a child will also be able to, sort of 10-year child who is good in English will be able to read it. Otherwise, any teacher or parent or even a grandparent can actually read it and then tell the children. And these books also have accompanying videos with them, where every chapter has been made into a video. So if a teacher wants, she can watch the video and teach the children. If a mother wants, she can watch the video and teach the children, or the children themselves can watch the videos. And based on those books, we also conduct an Olympiad. Just recently, we completed level 1 and level 2 Olympiads for children, which in all over the world, in the sense all over the country, and few countries abroad as well participate in the Olympiad. And for children who are 13 years and above, in the sense who can understand the language well and also have introduction to sciences, we have what is called the Indian Knowledge System Primer Series, where we have books on Indian astronomy, we have a book on the science of yoga, and we also have a book on Ayurveda. So all of this, we have also integrated an online platform where the content is covered through videos. So this particular primer series is not just good for teenage and above, but like, parents, adults, anybody who wants to get onboarded onto IKS can actually look at them. So these are the set of books that we have at the moment. We are also working on more books with respect to the Panchakoshiya development, the Darshana Shastras, and many such things.
So this 13 and above that you spoke about, there are, if I understood correctly, you said there are only videos. There are no books, is it?
The books are there. It's called Indian Knowledge Systems Primer Series on Ayurveda, on the science of yoga, and Nakshatra Vidya or Indian astronomy.
Okay.
They deal with the subjects in a deeper manner. These are books dedicated specifically on those topics. In fact, our IKS primer books on the science of yoga and the Indian astronomy will now soon be available on the Swayam Plus platform as well, where any college student or any adult will be able to take it and get a certification through that.
Okay. So what language are these books in? English?
The books are written in English, fully in English, interspersed with verses in Sanskritam, and all the verses are also transcribed in English for the benefit of people who are not familiar with the Devanagari script. And the online platform also has the audio chanting of those verses. The main idea behind including the verses is not to intimidate the learners, but many times we read about Ayurveda or whatever, but then often do not know the sources from which they came. And a lot of misappropriation has happened with respect to the knowledge systems. Now we study about like alternate nostril breathing or cardiac coherence breathing or non-deep sleep relaxation without knowing it's yoga nidra or without knowing it's anuloma viloma, or which text talks about that. So that's the reason why we have included the source verses there.
Okay, I think that's very important, because the way, our concepts have transformed into some fancy sounding English names, and we consume them like that, and not even realizing that they've actually come from our own tradition. That's the thing. Yeah. So if a child is interested in any one of these areas, what then is the next step?
So one is, of course, to buy the books and watch the accompanying videos and be part of the Olympiads as well. And we have summer camps and winter camps here at the ashram. So there is one camp that is upcoming from April 12 to 14. It's a residential IKS camp. We do similar camps in some winter as well in the December break. The other option is we used to do a program called Bharatiya Vijnana Pravesha. Of course, there has been a gap, but now that more children have our books, we have close to 2,000 learners all over the world who have purchased our books. So we are thinking of offering an online series on the Bharatiya Vijnana Pravesha, which will be an online, program for about 8 sessions or 10 sessions that cover the content of some of the books.
There's often a misconception that Indian knowledge is only about shlokas, Vedas, Upanishads. So I'm so happy that you've brought books out on the different shastras. Again, when people hear these words, immediately they start thinking of some kind of a spiritual knowledge. So the scientific knowledge is there is no awareness about the sources of scientific knowledge that we have in our tradition. So this sounds really exciting, and it's a necessary step in the right direction. Can you tell us a little bit about Anaadi Foundation and specifically the Gurukulam that you run? Parents would really like to know how it differs from an ordinary or a normal school that they go to, that their children go to.
So we started Anaadi Foundation, my husband, Shriman Adi Narayanan, and I started Anaadi Foundation in 2015. Before that, we were professors of computer science for more than a decade, engaging in teaching and research. Apart from that, we used to live on campus in the university. And as part of the curriculum itself, we used to offer courses on the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, and we used to have like 300, 400 students register for these courses, even at the undergraduate engineering level. So there is a huge thirst among the young population. And my husband has spent, close to about 250 days in Mauna over a period of, the past decade or so. And whatever insights that we derive from those sadhana periods is what we integrate into the foundation. And some of our own students who studied under us at the university are the ones who currently volunteer at the foundation. Some of them are grihasthas, some of them have taken brahmacharya diksha, and also they take care of the spiritual aspects of the foundation at the ashram, and they also take care of the educational aspects. And in 2021, we felt a strong need to start a Gurukulam. We were doing a lot of IKS programs for adults, but then we felt that we need to bring this at the school level. And it takes a lot more confidence to be able to work with the school level. We were confident about the college, age group, but then in 2021, we sort of got the confidence that we will be able to set up a Gurukulam. And then we started the Gurukulam. And when we looked at many Gurukulams across the country, we were very inspired by the work that all of the Gurukulams are currently doing. We just wanted to offer a scientific flavor to the content that is offered in a Gurukulam. Because as you rightly said, when people talk about Bharatiya Jnana Parampara or Indian knowledge systems, they often map it to philosophy or yoga, something like
Vedanta.
that. Vedanta. And sometimes people also map it to some kind of a negationistic thought process where you just leave everything and then go to the mountains and then,
Yes.
where you're not responsible for taking care of the society. So that way, there is no dearth of scientific exploration. When you take, for example, astronomical text or text on astronomy, or when you take text on Bharatiya Ganita, or when you take Ayurvedic text or Yoga Shastras for that matter, the Yoga Sutra itself is such a deep work on psychology. And And there's so much complex mathematics and astronomy and philosophy as well, and even in terms of debating, or even the philosophy of science itself, logical systems. All these are very, very deep knowledge systems that are available in our own texts, and we wanted to bring this out in a way that young people can understand. And hence, one of the very, very strong focus areas at the Gurukulam that we have, which is called Dharma Gurukulam, is the scientific heritage of India, not just from a historical perspective, but more from a science perspective. And right now, we have about 30 children who are studying right from the age of 8 onwards, coming from all over the country. And then going through this knowledge systems. We have both boys and girls at the Gurukulam, and it is run free of cost with the support of our larger, people who contribute to our efforts. And the curriculum is quite rigorous in terms of introducing these knowledge systems, and a very important focus is the Kantapata. So they learn the verses, be it Leelavati of Ganita, or be it Aryabhati of Indian astronomy, or be it Ashtanga Hridayam of Ayurveda, or whether it is Yoga Sutra of Yoga Darshana. They learn the verses by memory, and eventually also get the opportunity to apply it because they live in the ashram space. And Gau Seva is a very crucial aspect. Every child is tied to a cow. So that way, Gau Palana is a very, they have lots of fun with the cow. If you come and visit the Gurukulam and ask them about their daily activity, they will talk 90% about the cows because they just love the cows. And we also integrated a lot of sustainability by having the Goshala. For example, we cook with cow dung logs. We don't use LPG. We prepare Jivamritam. We prepare Panchagavyam. Daily, we do Agni Kriya. The children do Agni Kriya, doing Agastya Maharishi's japa. The ash is taken and sprinkled in the around the plants. Even bhasma is used for consumption and also applying on the forehead. So like that, it's a very integrated system that way. And how it is different from the regular school, as I told you, all the koshas get impacted when a child learns in a Gurukulam. So it is not just the cognitive development, but they learn about seva. They learn about the importance that one has to give to the guru. They learn about how to keep their body healthy, become self-aware of their body, the kind of food that one needs to have, and integrated with meditation, integrated with japa, and a very strong sense of bhakti. So the knowledge system that is offered in a Gurukulam is not bereft of what you can say, the cultural connect or the divine connect. But whatever knowledge system a child goes through in the regular school is bereft of all these divine elements in the name of making it secular. So it is stripped of all these systems. Whereas in a Gurukulam, it's a value positive system. Everything, whether it is health sciences or whether it is engineering or whatever, it is tied to the value system. So that is one way by which a Gurukulam education truly differs from the the mainstream educational process. And as you rightly pointed out, in the mainstream education process, it's like there's something that's happening in the school, and separately there's something that's happening at home. It is left to the child to connect these two things. In a Gurukulam, it's not like that. Right from the morning when they wake up to going to bed, it's a one integrated view of the reality that they get because of the introduction to Indian knowledge systems and living in an immersive environment.
So this is residential, right? So,
This is
I
residential.
mean, somewhere I think you have to integrate with the mainstream, no? So what is your way towards that? Or do you keep it separate? How anxious are parents when they have to choose a separate path, if it is a separate path? And where exactly are you located? I think just to start, maybe you should say where you're located. If there are parents who are interested, they may want to check you out. And what exactly do you have a sort of growth plan for the child if they go through this system? Those kind of things, if you can just elaborate.
Our Gurukulam is called Dharma Gurukulam because we focus on the societal dharma and the swadharma of a Vidyarthi. And our URL is www.anaadi.org, anadi.org/Gurukulam, Gurukulam. So Dharma Gurukulam. And we started this in 2021, and the Gurukulam is located at the foothills of Ivar Malai, where it is said that the Pancha Pandavas lived here. So at the foothills of Ivar Malai, located near Palani in Tamil Nadu. And the nearest airport, of course, is Coimbatore. It's about 90 kilometers from Coimbatore. Yeah.
Okay.
And as you rightly asked, when parents approach us for admission into the Gurukulam, they are very keen to know like how these children integrate with the mainstream education. So one of the ways that which we have found at the moment very useful is integrating with the open schooling, which is National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS it's called, where the children enroll with the NIOS center for examinations for grade 8, 10, and 12. If required for grade 5 as well, but that is not such a, I mean, we don't emphasize on that. But nevertheless, that's also available. For students who feel that they don't need any certification or they don't need to go through this process, we just ask them to opt out of this process. Otherwise, it's available. So what we do is that 70% of our focus is on Indian knowledge systems. The lifestyle itself is immersed in the Indian knowledge systems. 30% of the time is allocated to cover NIOS. And we have observed that if the child is there at the Gurukulam for 2 years or so, they develop immense capability and interest in the sciences. So they self-learning becomes very easy for them. Of course, the Gurukulam teachers are there, acharyas are there to help them out. And so they integrate with open schooling. In fact, 2 of the Vidyarthis who are currently studying their grade 12 have qualified for the Bachelor of Science in Data Science. It's an online degree program of IIT Madras. So they had to complete a rigorous 1 month sort of qualifying examination process. And then now they have gotten admission and they will be joining maybe this June, or they might be joining in January after taking a small break, right? Where they will be focusing on Shastric studies in the break. So the advantage of this online degree program is if a child wants to pursue a mainstream degree, that is also available. Second, there is no compulsion to leave the Gurukulam so early, right after school. They can be in the Gurukulam, teach the other children as well, and at the same time, learn the Shastras in a deeper manner, as well as the outside degree as well. So that way the child gets best of both worlds. So the parents who come here, one thing, of course, since we started every year, we intake about 10 to 12 children. It has been a very cohesive group in terms of parents already having an understanding and thirst towards the Indian knowledge systems, and they recognize the importance of this. And largely it is, the urban parents. We have a few children from the rural areas as well, where they themselves have gone through a certain curriculum and they are in good jobs, but they do understand the limitations of the current worldview and they want a change for their children. And that is the reason that they have entrusted their children with us. So that way, we are very fortunate to have parents who are understanding of this process. And once we have a critical mass of students, which we already have, I feel more are interested and more are getting the confidence that yes, this is also a valid path of learning. It's not just the mainstream education, not just the mainstream jobs, but these also for if the child has to grow up in a positive manner with robust health, harmonious emotional health, and a robust cognitive health, then this becomes a very important aspect of education. So more and more parents are understanding this. We have open houses like every month. We do see a consistent number of parents coming and visiting. Of course, we are not able to take all children at the moment, but we're very happy to see the interest amongst the parents. So that way, I feel the Gurukula education itself is picking up well throughout the country. More and more people are entering. Of course, we can't compete in terms of numbers with the mainstream education, but at least there is a good number which is interested.
So how
And if
often
parents,
do children meet their parents once they're in the Gurukulam? Do they get vacations, or how does that happen?
So we have vacations in Deepavali, which is for 21 days, and then the summer
Okay.
break again for about 1.5 months or so.
Okay.
And if the child wants to stay back during the vacation also, we are okay with that. I mean, there is really no compulsion to go home. But yeah, it depends on what they want to learn and all that. And the other aspect is that every month, second Sunday, is open for parents to come and visit. And
Okay.
all our programs, whether it is at the ashram or whether it is our Himalayan yatras, or whether it is our retreat programs, it is open for the parents. So that way they are part of all our programs. They take that effort to integrate with the system well. In fact, many parents just come, be in Mauna for 2-3 days and just leave. So that way, as I told you, we are very fortunate to have these parents who are themselves sadhakas. And even if they don't have a spiritual background in the past, they take that effort to be part of our online program, or come to our Himalayan Yatra, or come to our Paurnami Girivalams, or come for our Shashti Annadanams. So that way they take that effort. So that they develop more and more understanding about the system. So we, for the example, for the Shivaratri, we had all the parents visit the ashram for Shivaratri, and they were awake throughout the night. And doing some seva, and getting the children ready for the programs and all that. So that way, it's like a one big family that way. Like, for example, my own in-laws, they live on campus, that is at the ashram. So all the children have a tata party whom they can go to if they are like, if they need some kashayam, or if they need some churanam, or they need some first aid, or whatever it is. So even the parents who come, they call my in-laws tata party or dada dadi, or in their own language. So they all feel connected to the ashram that way.
so do you train others who are interested in setting up ashrams like this, not in terms of, I mean, spiritual sadhana as such, because that's really up to people, but in terms of a gurukulam? Can they be trained to set up a gurukulam for a group of kids outside?
Yes. So from March 1 to 14th, we had a program what is called Bharatiya Shiksha Paddhati, which was mainly designed to create an awareness about the Gurukulam and the Bharatiya pedagogical aspects, and also train people to start their own after-school IKS program or a Gurukulam on their own. So that way we had people from all over the country participate. And we also developed some kind of a rubrics and matrix, or what we call a Gurukulam canvas, where we map the resources that are currently available with someone, and what could they probably pick up in order to run the Gurukulam. And we also talk about aspects of, say, financial management or kitchen management, which can actually become quite an overwhelming process if one is not prepared for that. So that way we break it down into simple elements, so that people get a confidence to start a Gurukulam with whatever resources they have. If they are the only one person, interested in that, even then they will be able to start, is what we sort of give them the confidence. So that way it is, and the knowledge part of it, of course, we have the books, we show them the books. We also suggest other books as well, which they can integrate into the curriculum and help them to map the curriculum. So in this 14 days, there were groups of people who had come, like, who are looking at starting their own Gurukulam. So they all sat together in groups and then charted out in terms of what could be a day schedule, what could they teach for the first year, what age group they can intake, and all that. So that way they themselves were able to reflect on their own core strengths and what needs to be, what domains they need to be trained on to get more confidence. So that way, first of all, they get a conviction that, yes, this is an important, learning pathway. The second one is, of course, developing the capabilities.
I've also heard about something called the Samskara Journal, I think, published by you. Is that right? The Samskara Journal.
Yes,
So
yes.
parents, if they want to get that for their children, I'd like you to talk about what it is and how it helps a child connect to his or her roots?
So we travel quite a bit, abroad as well. Like we have programs that we do in the US. And whenever we meet parents of young children, they often ask us like, how do I introduce Bharatiya Parampara to our children? And many a times they enroll themselves in some shloka chanting, or then they take them to a temple. But then the larger scientific process, which is there behind some of the paramparic aspects, is not yet covered or not yet brought out to the children in a way that they can enjoy and learn. So the Samskara Journal, which is basically something like a note-taking or a daily journal, is where the child, journaling is now becoming part of children's lives, whether it's in India or abroad. So we brought out this journal, which the child can use it for 3 months, where we introduce the child to different Indic habits. So when we say samskaras, in a way, roughly, they can also be translated as habits. But samskaras are generally impressions, which also model the behavior of anybody. So these habits, in terms of, we looked at the Pancha Mahayajna in terms of what is the offering to the Pitras, what is the offering that we can do to the Rishis, to other Bhutas, to other human beings. And then that is mapped on to daily activities. For example, you can write a letter to Ganesha, or dress up like a Devata, or visit to the temple and then record what you felt and what you saw in the temple. Map your Kula Devatas, map 3 generations before, in terms of the names of your grandparents, great grandparents, and all that, which is your Grama Devata. Inquire that and write it down. Also make a small rangoli, then map the phases of the moon to the pakshas and tithis. So like that, we have lot of activities that the child can log in the journal. So this is available for buying. At the moment, we have run out of stock, but in a week or so, we'll be replenishing the stock. So the book is available at anaadi.org/SAM Samskara. Okay. And it's available. Generally, all our IKS books are available at anaadi.org, anaadi.org/IKS Books. So that is where we have all our book listings available. Yes.
Anaadi Foundation recently hosted an Indigenous Education Conference. I think there were people from around the world. It would be interesting to know if other indigenous systems have something like our Indian knowledge systems. What is the connect between the two? Is it very different?
So we hosted this Indigenous knowledge systems because we realized that across the world, many of these knowledge systems have been suppressed or removed, or have had a decline because of what we call as the colonization thought process, right? And what has happened is that we no more have access to many of these knowledge systems. Though in India, you would be amazed to see, of course, remaining within India, we often complain of the decline. But when we compare it with other cultures, we should see that we have definitely done a good job. Our rishis and our Mahatmas and great people of the tradition have really held on to the knowledge system and have ensured that it survives the test of time. And so the conference hosted speakers from Peru. We had speaker from Kenya, Colombia, Maori tradition, that is New Zealand and North America as well. And they have their own learning centers, which we call like gurukulams, based on their own knowledge systems. And some of the commonalities, the idea behind, we also have a Center for Indigenous Knowledge Systems, which is a soft center at Anaadi Foundation, where we promote such activities and also research on such knowledge systems available throughout the world. And some of the things that really emerged through this conference is that one thing is, of course, the the teacher is not the only custodian of knowledge. So now in the educational current mainstream education process, it's become very teacher centric. There is one teacher who is a custodian of that knowledge, and he or she is the one who imparts that knowledge. Whereas in all the indigenous cultures, there are different custodians of knowledge, including the elders in the community, the senior citizens of the community, or the flora and fauna of the community. All these are custodians of knowledge. The second aspect that emerged was that the indigenous knowledge system or the curriculum is what is well-being centric. While the mainstream education process gives a lot of emphasis to scientific pursuit, it does not bring out the well-being aspect so clearly. Like, for example, I've been a biology student. I've studied about the liver, kidney, I've studied about the heart and whatnot. But nowhere there has been a very concrete input on how do I maintain these in a healthy manner and what are the keys to preventive health. But when we talk about indigenous knowledge systems, including our Indian knowledge systems, there's so much on, the well-being aspect. So that way, it's a very, very well-being oriented pursuit of knowledge. So we were very happy to note, and all of them are interested in collaborating with us. So in the future, of course, we are not able to take it as rapidly as we take the other dimensions of Anaadi Foundation, but nevertheless, this is in our chitta. It continues to be in our chitta, and then this year we are rolling out more initiatives to bring these global perspectives.
You have extensive experience as a teacher, and all your suggestions are very valuable. And I'm sure parents are looking for a lot of little things that they can implement in their lives, though they have no access to Gurukulams. So my final question for you is, do you have a message for the parents listening?
So some of the things that I want to share as part of this podcast. First of all, gratitude to all of you for hosting me here, and gratitude to everybody who's listening to this. Some of the messages that I want to share, of course, whatever little bit experience that I've gathered. One is inculcating bhakti towards the divine is a very important aspect of growing up. Of course, the scientific pursuit, everything is there, but that recognizing that inherent divinity in whatever we see in terms of nature, be it other human beings, and whatever we see around is a very important aspect. So towards that, you can use stories, you can use bhajans, you can introduce them, as we joke. Initially, we go to the temple for prasadam, but then eventually, end up understanding what a temple is all about. Today's education, there is no iota of inculcation of bhakti or a connection to the divine. So that way, a simple puja vidhi, learning to chant, all that is a very important aspect. The second aspect is just as the child is introduced, as we started out in the podcast, introduced to Einstein and Newton and Edison and all that. Tell the child about the various Bharatiya Vinyanis with respect to, say, it could be Charaka, it could be Sushruta, Panini, or it could be Bhaskaracharya or Aryabhatta. First of all, you could also explore some of these knowledge systems and understand their contribution and bring out the scientific aspects, and definitely introduce them to the historical aspects as well, as to how we have lost some of these knowledge systems over a period of time. Could be because of invasions, could be because of colonization, and eventually sometimes due to lack of funding, and many such things have happened in history. In a digestible manner, in a way that it doesn't create a conflict or hatred in the mind of the child, but in a way that they can develop pride. Definitely introduce them to these historical narratives and to the scientific narratives as well. And as I told you, bhakti, upasana, puja, all that can actually bring a lot of inner strength to the child. And exposing the child to chanting takes care of the neurocognitive development. They develop good verbal intelligence. They develop good attention capability, memory capabilities, and grow up to be good citizens. So that way they would be, very, very, good people in the family, for the society, and for the nation. And they will stand out as global citizens. See, at the end of the day, all these knowledge systems, the idea is to live harmoniously in this world, in the midst of all the chaos, maintaining that inner harmony and also living in harmony with other people. And for that, exposure to such knowledge system is very important. So I wish all the parents all the best in their journey of Indian knowledge systems and inculcating this amongst their children.
I think you're doing really wonderful work, and I hope many parents who are listening to this, their curiosity is piqued, and people will try and at least explore for a first taste of what you have to offer. No, so many thanks for coming on the podcast. It was a really interesting conversation that we have had. And maybe we should come back with some more elaboration, on practical aspects that we can think of further in some future podcasts, so that, your work can be known better to a larger group, as we grow. Because I think it's the need of the hour that we get back to our systems of education that are more in tune with what we see around us. So all the best to you, and we look forward to having you again with us. Thank you very much. And to our listeners, we request you to follow us on hinduparenting.substack.com. Please subscribe to us to get all our podcasts into your mail inboxes. We are available on all social media platforms. We go by the handle Hindu Parenting. We are also available on all podcast platforms. So our podcasts go up on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And we are also available on YouTube, so you can catch us there too. So looking forward to having you all for another session soon. Thank you and namaste.